Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Becca, and if you've never met me before, this is my channel where we talk about all the houseplant things. We do plant chores, we do plant education, and today we are going to be talking about my 2025 houseplant wish list slash goals. I know that this is the end of February when you're seeing this, but I still feel like goal setting is relevant because it's just important to revisit your goals at the end of every month. So I'm definitely doing that right now. I set a bunch of goals at the beginning of the year, a couple weeks ago, and I am challenging myself to take a look back at them. So this is going to be good for me in that. And also I have a few plants that I'm really excited about getting possibly this year. So we're gonna talk about that too. I am going to start with my plant goals for the year, and we're gonna jump right in and say watering and fertilizing. Just do it, not all at once, but do it. So if you have been following my channel for honestly any amount of time, you know that when it comes to watering my plants, I tend to let things go a little bit longer than I should. This is absolutely something that I want to improve this year, and I think having less plants in general makes that a lot easier. I have my plants also more spread out in this house where I wasn't able to do that in my old house, so it felt like all of the watering would always fall on the same day, so it was very overwhelming for me. And in this house, I just have better windows throughout the house, so my bedroom, my bathroom actually has quite a few, and I like to have plants in places that I'm going often. So literally every time I walk into my bathroom, which is like multiple times a day, I'm seeing those plants and I'm remembering they need to be taken care of. And in fact, right now they need to be watered. I need to do that after I film this video. But yeah, I really want to be better at that because I want my plants to keep getting bigger and bigger. And I feel like a reason that my plants tend to stay a little bit stagnant and they grow a lot slower is because they're just not getting the water that they need. And so I am helping myself fix this problem by doing more things with self-watering pots. I used to be very against self-watering pots and things like that. Not necessarily because they're bad, but just because they can easily become a crutch, and I don't want my plants to get like mineral buildup and things like that. But just like with bottom watering, like if you bottom water so many times, you need to top water to just flush out the plant. Happy plants that have been watered is better than plants that are thirsty, and because they're waiting to be watered the correct way that I have just set up in my head. There are many correct ways to water plants, and I think in my head I just had this like rigid expectation of myself, which is something that I do in all parts of my life, but most relevant example is how I water. So I used to always, every single time I watered, flush the plants. And now I'm realizing it's probably not necessary, and the plants are missing out on moisture that they need because I just don't have time to do that, especially now that I'm working like a full-time 9 to 5. So that was kind of two of my goals in one: water more, and then also my another goal was to get more self-watering pots and things like that. You can actually see behind me, my Fittonia is not normally right there. It's on my coffee table typically, but I was redoing some repotting. I have it in like a little glass bowl with a terracotta pot that doesn't have drainage, and it just sits in there and it uptakes water as it needs. And I pretty much never have to top water that plant. It's always happy as long as the water is full in that bowl. And that kind of made me realize that I just don't need to be so rigid in my expectations of myself and how I care for my plants. So definitely looking into more ways I can implement self-watering and like automated systems. Number 3, I guess, is to try different types of plants. I've gotten a little bit bored of my plants just because I've had so many of them for many, many years, and I'm very happy with them, but they're doing really great and they just feel stable, and I don't feel like I'm really being challenged with any of my plants. So I am ready basically to break my heart again. I just want to branch out and try newer things, harder things, just like different things, which might require a few of them like dying unexpectedly or whatever else, because I'm just learning. And I don't know, I just want to challenge myself again with plants because I do feel like I found my groove, which is really exciting. But I am a person who is always wanting to learn and always wanting to adapt and just try new things. So yeah, I'm feeling a little stagnant in my collection, and I'm excited to incorporate some newness and some challenge again. Thank you so much to Squarespace for sponsoring this video and giving me the opportunity to talk about another goal that I have for this year, and that is to put out more merch, some more Dela merch. And I'm actually so excited because I have some samples behind me that I've been working on, and I'm super excited for those to come out. But if you're not familiar with Squarespace, they are the all-in-one place for you to share about your brand online, get the word about what you're doing, and with their new design intelligence tools, it is easier than ever to make a website. Sometimes making a website can be really intimidating because it's like a twofold situation. First, you have all of the technical things like designing the website, which their templates make it super, super easy to do that. You want things to be searchable, but you don't want it to feel robotic, and their design intelligence helps with all of that. It can help you write email campaigns, it can help you write product descriptions, SEO site details, all of these things that might feel a little bit more difficult to do, especially when you're doing a lot of it. I also have a hidden page on my website for my portfolio where I just show my professional work and all the things I do, and that portfolio actually helped me to get the job that I currently have. So having a portfolio is very, very important, especially as a creative, so I would highly suggest doing that, and I would highly suggest using Squarespace to do so. If you are interested, you can check out Squarespace through the link in the description box below. I also will have a code DelaPlants that will get you 10% off your first purchase of a website or a domain. The last plant goal that I have is to save up for or get a sponsorship for the Soltech track lighting system. So I really, really want to put more grow lights in this room specifically because it's deceiving the amount of light that it looks like it gets. Like this wall right here faces northeast, but like mostly north. So it's bright, but it's not an east window or a south window like my old house had. Like my old house had incredible lighting in that plant room. And this one, while it feels bright, I bet you the foot candles are pretty low for the plants and like what they would need. And because this faces north, I can actually utilize my patio here like a lot more than I did my old patio because the old one faced south and we did have a huge tree, but I was still kind of nervous about putting plants out on there. And with this one, I feel like much more safe because it's shaded most of the day. So anyway, another way I'm going to be experimenting, just having a new house and the new windows and all of these new situations creates lots of opportunities to learn and try new things. But yeah, definitely would like to invest in the Soltech track light system. It's a little on the pricier side, but it's just because it's a really nice product and I love my other Soltech lights. So I am crossing my fingers that that can be a reality this year. Now on to the plants that I'm looking for, which is probably way more exciting. Like I said, I'm looking for challenge. I'm looking for new things. I don't exactly love the idea of buying plants super juvenile, but some of these do sell for kind of an expensive price. So I might have to do that, which would definitely require more time and effort or even just forethought in how I take care of them. So with all of this being said, the first plant on my wish list is the Anthurium Wenlingeri. Now this is one that I saw for the first time in person at the Botanical Gardens at Fairchild Botanical Gardens in Miami. And that botanical garden, by the way, I was talking about it with somebody recently. It's the most beautiful botanical garden I've ever been to. Because it's Florida, they can just have things growing out in the wild within the, you know, limits of the botanical garden. But they had this really beautiful cloud forest simulation where there was just big trees covering, so it was a little shaded, but there was a ton of like beautiful tropical plants like what we have in our house. Like there was a ton of gloriosum, there was a bunch of anthurium just growing, and there was a path through it, and then the whole time there was like mist being thrown up into the air to make the cloud forest because these plants are used to very, very moist conditions. And they had this tropical house and they had a bunch of anthurium, obviously, just like all over the place. And there was another plant that I just remembered that I want to put on my list that was in that house. Please don't forget Becca. I'll talk about that in a second. I saw on the wall, they had like in like a cage planter and Anthurium Wenlingeri. And I actually didn't know that this was a plant that people like you and me could just have. And definitely when you buy it, it is very juvenile most of the time. Like unless you're willing to spend like multiple $100s at this point, it's going to be pretty juvenile. And that's fine, I guess, for a plant like this. I just hope that it's not like a super, super picky anthurium because I have kind of found my groove with anthurium, so I feel confident to get one a little bit smaller. But the reason that people get this plant, or at least the reason that I would get it, is of course it has the really beautiful strap anthurium leaves. There's a couple other strap anthuriums that I would also be happy to add to my collection that would look so beautiful on my plant wall after I get the lights. But this one specifically has a spiral inflorescence and it is absolutely gorgeous. Like it's so, so cool. I have certain anthurium in my collection that bloom all the time. Like my clarinervium is always blooming. She is mother. So I hope that eventually if and when I get this plant, it's one that likes to bloom and maybe I can just find the perfect cocktail of conditions where it loves to bloom. I'm gonna break up the anthurium by talking about the ferns that I want to get this year. I have never been a person who trusted myself with ferns on a big level. I do have a staghorn fern, which is apparently doing well. I feel very unsure of how to take care of it, but apparently it's fine. And that kind of made me realize like, oh, maybe I want to do more of this. Two that I'm looking for this year, and they're going to be really easy to find because I see them at Lowe's all the time, but I want to find special ones, maybe from a nursery or I don't know. I don't want to just go to the store and buy them. It feels a bit anticlimactic, but I'm looking for the blue star fern and also the rabbit foot fern. So the blue star fern is great because it has those like really beautiful, like chalky, pale green leaves. I love that color of leaf just so much. And I love that it's just like a stem with like a hand looking like leaf frond. It's just so cool. I love it. And forgive me, I'm probably not using the terminology correctly because I don't get ferns. Like I'm not a fern person. Anyway, I would like to learn more. And that's kind of something that I wanted to add into my collection. There's lower light situations in my plant room and ferns do well with that. So I figured maybe that would be a good plant to bring in. I did bring in recently another Maranta and it's doing really, really great in here. So hopefully I'm able to keep other more piggy plants happy just because the conditions in this room are really great for them. So anyway, the rabbit foot fern is another one I'm looking for just because of like the funky aerial roots that come out of the pot. Like it used to be something that really grossed me out, but I actually am super into it now. So big fan of the rabbit foot fern. Okay, the next one is I really want to find an Anthurium Delta Force. Now this one is such a unique Anthurium. Like there's so many Anthurium out there. This one is a cross between two Anthurium. I will put the diagram on the screen. Visually, it's helpful for me to see like the two parents and then what it made. It's so cool. I really want to do an entire video about houseplant hybrids and it's been in my bucket of ideas for so long and I just need to do it, but it's gonna require a lot of research because I want to do it right. So just know that that's gonna be coming at some point this year. Another goal of mine is to get that video series out. But anyway, the Anthurium Delta Force is very beautiful. It's so cool and unique. I don't have an Anthurium like it at all. And since my Regale died, which I'm still so sad about, I have an opening in my collection for a picky Anthurium if it ends up being picky, because all of the Anthurium I have right now are pretty solid, not picky. You know, I figured them out a long time ago. I do think that I'm gonna have to get a juvenile form of this one because it just tends to be quite expensive at the larger size. Unless I can get some sort of deal, like, I don't know, I find something on an Anthurium Facebook group, or I don't really know. I'm probably gonna buy it pretty juvenile and just baby the heck out of it and see what happens. So keep your fingers crossed for me that I find that. I have the whole year to find it. Like, I'm not in a rush to find any of these plants. It is kind of a downside of creating a wish list, is like you suddenly feel like you have to find all of these things like right now, and then you do, and then you make another wish list, and then it turns into this cycle of like buying and searching and buying and searching. And that is definitely a cycle that I fell into early in my plant collecting, which is why I haven't really put together a wish list in a while. But I do feel like I have a much better handle on my plant habits and am telling myself that I have the whole year to find these plants. And if things get added, that's cool, but it's not something that I need to buy like right now. There's no way, actually no, there is a way that I could have bought this plant. I regret it every day. But when we went to the Potted Together event in Chicago at Sunnyside Plants, they had a really big variegated Jose Bono, and I was just absolutely enthralled by this plant. I think it was like $75. So I was like, let's like wait a second, because it was also my first time ever seeing it, which, if you know, one of my cardinal houseplant rules is when you see a plant for the very first time ever, don't buy it. Let's think about it, because for me, I tend to get kind of starstruck by plants, and then long term I realized like, oh, it was just different and new, and that's the only reason that I wanted it. But no, I wanted that plant, okay? So there is a plant store here in OKC that I think has these, maybe, I don't remember. I'm gonna have to look back through my footage, but I don't think it was $75. And that is where I was like, dang it, I messed up, because I really want like a big one. Like I think a big one would look so good on this shelf back here, or really just anywhere. Like I could like even mount it up and like hang it in one of my baskets, like the crate baskets that I'm gonna have to repurpose in other ways. I should have bought it when I had the chance, but it's okay. Like this is again me following my rules and being so rigid, and sometimes it's not great. So anyway, that is another one that I'm looking for, a big variegated Jose Bono. I'm not really interested in a small one, so if I can find a really big one for around $75 to $100, I would be down, but it's gonna take some time to find that. So just gonna keep my fingers crossed that I come across it. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I really appreciate you being here. Make sure that you subscribe if you haven't already. I talk about plants every single Tuesday, so consider me your plant friend next door. We chat about plants, we do plant chores together, we learn, and it's just a ton of fun, and I'm super excited to see you guys next week. And yeah, bye.